How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Carpo's channel again. And I suppose this video will be some sort of a synopsis about last night's video, which regarded New Age philosophies and gurus and spirituality. And when I woke up this morning, I really had that on my mind. You know, I was like, yeah, I made a video last night about spirituality and gurus, and I thought, you know, what was I missing? What kind of things should I have included in the video? You know, it just kind of, these are the things I think about when I'm processing, you know, life. I think, oh yeah, what's been on my mind lately? And for this one, it was about the atheism and religion debate, but it was more than that. I use that example because, you know, I'm here to share information with people. I'm here to share my honest opinion. Not everybody's going to respect that, and I totally respect that. That's what's important. We forget that we are humans, and we can't expect everyone to agree with us. But so many people really expect others are going to just believe what they're saying by what they say. So this is sort of a synopsis about last night's video, a way to condense it and try to put it into a shorter format. And I really want to do live by my 15-minute free thinking sign here and keep my videos under 25 minutes, but lately it's been harder to do that. And when I first started this channel, it was 10 minutes, then 15, then 20, then 25, and I could go on for an hour. So, you know, if I could, actually, if I was getting paid to do this, where I didn't have to work my other, you know, business, I would probably sit and make podcasts at least a couple of times a day and really put some love into it. It's like, it's something I really enjoy, is talking about things, but I want to do it in a way where people don't feel offended and where nobody feels left out, in the sense that even if you don't agree with what I'm saying, at least you can respect the fact that I respect you. And I do respect people. I do respect religious people. And last night it may have come across as that I was anti-religion, or, you know, anti-spirituality, anti-guru, and that's not the case at all. And I know I was very clear in those things, but that's probably why I'm reiterating it here. You know, both sides of the debate as far as atheism and religion are misrepresented. And like I mentioned, I think what inspired me to make this video is I woke up this morning and I went about my daily activities, dropped my kid off at school, and I came back and I turned on something about Deepak Chopra, which you may know as this spiritual writer. I don't have a book here, but I have one called The Third Jesus. And he's written several books, and he's a wise man. He's a doctor, I believe. He's an Indian fellow. He knows a lot about the spiritual side of things, if you will. And he knows a lot about, you know, the technical side of things. The debate I watched today was him. To give a background, last night in the video I mentioned that I watched a video called Confessions of a Failed Spiritual Guru, or something like to that effect. And she said that she'd been at an event one time and Deepak Chopra was going up to speak, and he asked his assistant, do I look fat in these khakis? And that line just stuck with me. I was like, that is just the ultimate. Like, you know, no matter how much we're trying to tell people you're just a body, you're not an ego, well, we're all egotistical. That's the reality that I'm trying to convey, is not that spiritual teachers are all liars, it's not that they're all charlatans, and it's not that they don't believe what they're saying, it's that they do believe often what they're saying. And as long as that's healthy to the individual, I think that's a great thing. But if it's harming people as a whole, that can be detrimental. So this is what religion has done, is it's harmed people as a whole, and it's about weighing that option, whether or not the benefit risk, you know, assessment. That's all we have really in life. But my point being here that the religion and atheism are always in the wrong arguments. When I watched that debate, it was a debate between Sam Harris and it wasn't really a debate but a discussion. It was a panel. It was Sam Harris, which is a full-fledged atheist. He wrote a book called, I can't even remember was Dawkins that wrote The God Delusion. Anyhow, I also watched a Richard Dawkins confrontation where he talked with Deepak Chopra. But this one was Sam Harris, an atheist, Deepak Chopra, a spiritual guru, supposedly. And then Michael Shermer was in there, I believe. And he's a skeptic. That's a self-professed skeptic. And, you know, if I were to fit any realm, it would be a skeptic... you know, if I was going to be a guru, I'd be a skeptic guru. Like, you don't know for sure if this is true, but it might be. And that's what Zen is. But that's for another discussion. Zen is amazing. If you are lost and looking for answers, go to Zen, because it has no answers, and that will teach you everything you need to know about the fact that there are no fucking answers. Pardon my language, but that's the reality. All of these people are trying to sell you bullshit. And it's not that nobody understands basic things. Let me try to give you an example of what I'm talking about. When people say, well, this teacher told me this about myself, and he said that I need to be more caring, and perhaps I need to let go of these things in the past. I say, right on. That's true. But I could have told you that. Anyone could have told you that. Anyone with half a brain, a psychiatrist, psychologist could have told you that. When a person asks for help and gets it, they tend to attach to that help and think that that's the true answer, the only answer, if you will. But maybe they just feel like they're being assisted in their path in life, and I think that's great. But like I said last night, it's all about the cost, benefit ratio. That's for the individual to decide. The thing I wanted to talk about with atheism and religion is, as far as a God goes, one of the big arguments that's left out is not because they deflect and say, well, the universe must be conscious because things don't exist unless you observe them. And a person will say, well, for example, one of the things Deepak Chopra has said, I guess, was that basically when you're looking at the moon, it exists. And when you're not, it doesn't. And therefore, it's some sort of a quantum soup when humans aren't looking at it. And I thought, that's bullshit. That's absurd. It still pulls the tides even when nobody's looking at it. Matter exists when no one's looking at it. Therefore, the conclusion that a lot of people draw is, if humans affect, and I'm going out on a limb here because I know a lot of you don't understand how if you don't understand the double slit experiment, I don't want to lay it out and waste anybody's time with it, but make sure the camera's going here. Yeah, it's going. The double slit experiment was an experiment that showed, and I'm going to condense it hardcore here, if you're not observing light as it passes through a vacuum, then it's a wave. But the minute you look at it, it becomes a particle. And this was from shining light through a single slit and then through a double slit. And the refraction pattern in the background showed that when light hits two slits, it sends out waves just like water. And those waves interfere with each other and create like an interference pattern, if you will. And that shows up on the back reflector that's picking up light signals. But when they did a smaller experiment with just photons, they found out that it will be a wave until the minute somebody observes it and measures it and it becomes a particle. And the conclusion was that quantum physics shows that nothing exists unless humans are paying attention. The thing that people are leaving out is the fact that quantum physics just showed that there must be an observer for anything to exist. That observer could be a conscious universe. It could be an aware solar system itself. My belief is more along the lines of humans are conscious, and as a group we're conscious larger, but we don't understand it. We can't. And the planetary system is communicating, and the solar systems are communicating within our galaxy, and the galaxies are communicating within a super galaxy, and the super galaxies are communicating within a mega galaxy, and within the universe, things that we can't even comprehend. The point being that we are all fucking clueless to what's going on out there. And once again, pardon my language, you know, and I know a lot of people don't give a fuck if they say fuck, and they don't care, you know, about their language, but I do, because language is all we have as humans. It's all we have. We can't pretend like we understand anything deeper than we do, and anything deeper than we can express. And that's where I've been really focusing my attention. You know, sitting here rambling on YouTube for like 6 damn years now about things, you know, my conclusion has been that if you can't convey it in layman terms, it ain't worth trying to explain. And I have listened to so many spiritual gurus talk about quantum bullshit, and using that as an example. In fact, Richard Dawkins, when I watched that show earlier, Richard Dawkins, it was him with Deepak Chopra. So Richard Dawkins, an atheist, Deepak Chopra, you know, this spiritual guru, supposedly, and he was asking him, why do you use the word quantum? You know, and Deepak himself said, well, it's like a metaphor. It's a metaphor. He's like, well, so you're saying it's a metaphor? He's like, yes. So he said, then towards the end of the conversation, Deepak even had the nerve to say that science stole terms from religion, or from the New Age or the spiritual movement. He said they stole the word quantum basically from the New Age movement. And I thought, how can you even say that? Quantum just means quantifiable. It has to do with the smallest units of measurement. And I will not complain to be a claim to be a physicist. I will not claim to be an expert on quantum physics. I will not claim to have taken courses on this. But believe you me, I have done as much fucking research as an independent agent can. And I know quite a bit about these things as far as what the theories are. And I don't, and I know that's what gives me an understanding. Science gives me a better understanding of where religion is coming from and where we're all coming from. Science to me is a method. It's a way of just saying I'm a skeptic until you can prove otherwise. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's cutting into people's happiness because they want to believe something else, something they've been taught or programmed to believe. And that doesn't work. The idea is, are these things working for all people? Or at least how many people are they working for? With religion, it comes down to not, people say, well, it's helping people. My question has always been, how many people does it harm? Because of miscommunications between religions. I have a couple notes on the left, which is why I look to the left here. This helps me. It really, I do plan a little bit before I make a video like this, I'm not a fool. I'm not just some guy who wants to talk about the latest issues. I'm not talking about Colin Kaepernick or what's going on in politics. I know that that's attractive, and for me it's about sharing what I'm thinking at the moment with my fellow humans, and it's, anyway, that's an interesting prospect, but so my belief is that basically both science and religion are needed. It's necessary to have them both, but neither one of them are remotely complete, and both of them together are not even complete. And that goes back to what I was saying about how there's miscommunication between the idea that there's a personal God who's watching you jack off in the shower, pardon my language, to the idea that maybe the universe might be conscious of itself. The problem comes down to science and religion are both just methods to cope with life and to understand things. Science is a way of constantly upgrading and changing things based on what other humans have told us. And then we have to change our ideas if enough other humans agree on it. And enough tests have been done to prove it. Some of them are ignored, but a majority of science, if it's a scientific method and has been proven over and over, people will believe it. This is why we, have developed the things we have. This is why we're not building skyscrapers out of copper, because we understand metals. Science has helped us to do tests and understand things. A religion, on the other hand, has not changed in 1,000 years. It's archaic. It's still believed the same way. And while anybody who wants to step outside the boundaries of their belief system, like Christianity, and say maybe the Bible's not true the way that we think it is, they're cast down by their own people. And that's unfortunate. Unfortunate. Christianity, for anyone who really believes that Adam and Eve wore leaves over their genitals and walked around in the Garden of Eden and then bit into an apple of knowledge, and then all of a sudden one of the biggest questions, somebody mentioned this the other day, they're like, if Adam and Eve were in the garden and they were told, don't bite out of the apple of knowledge and wisdom or else you may die. And somebody said, how would they know what death was? Think about that for a minute. If you're a Christian and you believe that Adam and Eve really heard that, you'll die if you eat this apple, how would they even have a comprehension of what death was before, if they were the first people on earth? They had just arrived. They knew nothing. This is, and I'm not negating the stories. Religious stories help us cope, but there are deeper meanings. So before I, get any feedback on that, I would like to say what I'm saying there is for those who believe in Christianity, literally, consider the fact that it may be a metaphor. And for those who completely negate Christianity, consider the fact that there's something there to be learned. Because there really is. Revelation I read when I was like 16. I'm fascinated with religion, even though I was never introduced to it as a kid. Theology, maybe. Religion, maybe. It's all interesting to research. I know Buddhism, Christianity, a little bit of Islam, some Judaism. Speaking of Judaism, it's probably the closest to understanding the mathematical connections between us and the universe, but at the same time, Judaism hides behind a blanket of obscurity. And what I mean by that is, and I shouldn't even bring up Jews because there's so much anti-Semitism. First off, I want to say I do not think that Jews are trying to dominate the world. I do not believe that Jews are horrible people. I think that they're just people. So many different, there's Hasidic Jews, there are, traditional Jews, people who are maybe just associated as Jews because their family was Jewish. But the idea that Jews are all in cahoots with one another is absurd. To bring up a channel, is funny because this channel, Mouthy Buddha, is the YouTube channel. Many of you may have heard of him, maybe not. He did a video about this, the Jewish issue, and he's sticking his neck out by even talking about it because there is so much anti-Semitism, and I understand why. I have a problem with Israel and their forcedness and their aggression as well, and I know that the West is supplying them with ammunition and weapons, and that it's absurd, and that it's a domination of the area for resources. I get it. Not for the Jews, but for America. America supports Israel as a scapegoat in order to have a watchtower in the Middle East, if you will. And that all aside, religion itself, Judaism hides behind this obscurity by saying, well, we don't know exactly what heaven is. And heaven is the biggest issue here. If we want to break religion down and break spirituality down, what it comes down to is, what are they promising you? An everlasting afterlife? And if so, why do you believe that shit? And, I don't, these are things I think about all the time that I really want to convey, and I can't. The idea that, okay, what makes you you as a conscious being is the fact that you are aware right now. That's partially due to your hearing, your sight, your feeling, and your memories. Memories fade. If you fade out of your body, you lose your sight, you lose your hearing, as far as a human. You lose that feel, the taste. What else makes you you? Even if you were a conscious entity outside your body, what's the point? Eventually it will fade and you will forget who you were as a human. And that is okay. That is the message I'm trying to completely convey when it comes to spirituality, is the fact that it's okay to admit that you are going to fade into oblivion and become part of the whole again. And isn't that what everybody professes? That you go back to God, that you go back to the roots, to the beginning, to the unity of oneness, and to the singularity. What is wrong with that? I'll tell you what's wrong with that. And take note here, because this is the most important thing that I have learned, is that what we're trying to hang on to is not ourselves, not our bodies, not our memories. It's our ego. I should say it is our memories. What we're trying to hang on to is our experiences. And that includes our memories of the way we think things are. But the more we learn about how skewed our memories are, the more we realize it's delusional to think that way. We will never be ourselves forever. We never can. And who would want to be a human forever? It's like somebody said earlier about paradise and heaven. Why would you want to live like that? Why would you want to live in a place where there were rolling fields and flutes playing every day and harps? That's completely boring ass shit. Part of what being human is that balance between suffering and happiness. And I can't say it enough times. Without that suffering, you can't truly be happy and understand happiness. This is why people hurt themselves, cut themselves. It's a subconscious desire to get past that and find a good time where they're, I'm not talking about like suicidal cutters, but rather maybe daredevils, okay? Or, maybe I need to think that one through a little more, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I'm just a human being, and I try to convey my message the best I can through the means I have, through my camera, and I don't edit or mess with my videos, so everything's raw, so I have to kind of go through and do everything I can as we go, and I've only gotten about a third of the way through the notes that I wanted to take and make, and I've got to check to make sure that the camera's going. When I looked, the time remaining was 7:19. What does that mean? Well, that means whatever you want it to mean. I guess that brings to mind the idea that we all manifest whatever reality we want, and hopefully it's a good one. Placebo effect is one hell of a drug. It's to get back to the spiritual aspect. This is obviously not going to be a short video. The reason why we are attracted to understanding that is because we want to know that our loved ones are okay and that we'll be okay. And the fact is we just don't know. But people will tell you that they understand what's going on. And when you ask them questions, they'll belittle you. And this is what I watched in Deepak Chopra. He was totally owned by Sam Harris and Michael Shermer. And like I said, science and religion are just methods to achieve understanding. Some people become attracted to both to an extreme where it's unhealthy. I love both. Religion to me is one thing, but that's basically blind faith. But when it comes to understanding things, it's about closing your eyes and thinking about metaphors. And saying the universe reflects itself through mathematics and numbers and repeating patterns. What can that tell me about me and my behaviors? It's funny, I was watching a movie this morning and my wife comes in and she goes, "Oh, Papa's watching movies in the morning again. It's that time of year again." And she knows it's my intuition. Not my intuition, my yearly, my cycle, my routine that I do. So subjective-minded, to get back to the part that I really wanted to convey, I'm going to probably have to do another video, but a lot of people use the argument in their spiritual context, and when you ask a guru and confront them, and just like happened with Deepak, he would say, "Well, you just don't understand. You just don't understand. You're not open-minded enough, and you're too hung up on science." And when he was confronted and asked about his beliefs, he would just attack science. And it was almost offensive, because I want to believe that gurus know what they're talking about. I want to believe that spiritual teachers know what they're talking about. People like Teal Swan and J.P. Sears, who was just this funny guy who made videos, and then all of a sudden it started this like, "Hey, join my group for $20 a month and you can get access to, $19.99 will get you, in. You can talk to me personally." And I thought, God, I see how people view that by the comments. I see the responses. People are like, "Oh God, you took the Kool-Aid, you bought into the, bullshit." Me as a YouTuber with, say, 13,000 subscribers, sure, I've thought at times, God damn, I see how people can get to this point and think, "Oh, I have all these subscribers. I could start selling shit to them." so be it. You want to start a business. But if you're trying to sell them life advice merely because they admire you, that's bullshit. And I'm going to tell you, if you admire me, that's bullshit. Don't. Think of it as admiring yourself. If you find something you want to do, something you want to be, something within me that you enjoy watching, then, find out what that is and take it upon yourself. I'm not going to charge you to sit here and talk to you. And so many people do, and that's why it bothered me, and that's why I made the video last night. My apologies for this being so long. I guess the biggest issue I have is the hell problem. It's not a matter of what you believe. It's a matter if you are telling your children that they might go to hell one day, then you are abusing your children. You are mentally abusing your children. Because in today's world, we understand there's a mind-body connection, period. The gut is always talking to the brain and vice versa. And if you really believe that we're spiritual creatures, of another realm, and that our souls continue on, then raising a human child to believe that he's going to hell if he sins, and telling him that sin could be masturbation, anything up to even killing someone, What I'm saying is, it doesn't matter how extreme the sin is. The fact that someone could burn forever after just a short life is absurd. And hell is complete fucking bullshit. Complete fucking bullshit. I don't know how else to put it. I don't know how else to say it. And I just started thinking of George Carlin there. Hey, that's something he would have like. It's complete fucking bullshit. Hell is a sin to even talk about. If you're telling your children that they might go to hell one day, you are a sinner. If you're telling a human adult that they might go to hell one day, you're completely out of touch with reality and the way the universe would work. If I'm wrong, hey, I guess I'll burn in hell. But at least while I'm sitting there, I'll realize, well, the only thing that makes happiness is the contrast of the bad times. And the more bad times you have, the more you can recognize happiness. Well, that's vice versa. That also works for the fact that, if you're burning for eternity, eventually you're going to be looking at your watch going, am I still burning? There's only so much pain you can endure too. And so it's all about this and that. I would say the only thing that I can say is positive out of the spiritual quest is meditation, Buddhist principles, certain realms of it, and Zen. Zazen, the whole idea of we don't know the answer, but we're going to do our best. That's what life's all about. And the hell problem is always a problem. What is the afterlife? Hey, the afterlife is whatever you make it. The questions that I want to finalize this on are, regardless of what a person believes, what is the value of the belief? What is the value of the faith in general, when you look at the big picture? And how has it helped people? And especially, who has it harmed? Because the more we ask ourselves, who was harmed, as opposed to who was helped, we start to realize that many of the religious wars and arguments in history have been based on misunderstandings and ignorance. The idea that we know better than someone else. And misunderstandings are really kind of the root of our civilization. Our language develops, and therefore we make it more and more difficult to converse with people. And you may think, what are you talking about? The more words we have, the easier it is. It's not. We are so divided on which words to use because we have so many more things to describe. So, that's my video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you didn't, I don't really give a shit. And that's the beauty of being a human. I don't have to give a fuck what you think. But I do.